Roohi versus Briksza. Going down the line, so Briksza's control versus burn in Modern. Up at the top, we have green-black aggro from Kazu Negri against Corey McDuffie on 4-color Saheeli. And then the bottom one in a match that I expect to go quite a while, we have the Miracles fight of Aaron Kasprzak versus Dylan Donegan on Sultai Delver.
Likely where this team picked up their draw.
Always can be possible. Well, Rudy does win the die roll, so with Briksza's control, he'll start on the play.
Being on the play is a win.
Yeah, well, there's just not that many win conditions. The only creatures, 4 Snapcaster Mage and 3 copies of Tasigur.
This is actually the approximate number of win conditions I have post-board playing Delver. Delver of Secrets is bad in this matchup, so just Snapcaster and Tasigur, that's certainly enough. He just has to have the right interaction.
Yeah, it's like they've taken that list and found that they were sideboarding in this plan enough that they might as well just start it.
Sure.
Monastery Swiftspear crashes in for 1 from Roohi. Good enough for Legacy, good enough for Modern. Basic Mountains into Swiftspear. We did see Patrick Sullivan win with the Legacy version of this deck last round, though his team ended up taking the loss.
Briksza potentially looking at a turn 2 Tasigur here. Yeah, they does have the Tasigur, so leading on Thought Scourer here.
So yeah, he cracks a fetch land, scours himself. That means he has 5 cards in the graveyard, and you're absolutely right, a turn 2 Tasigur. So being able to make such a large creature early in the game figures that it should be pretty good against something like Monastery Swiftspear.
Yeah, he's really excited about this. As you see, he started delving before he even resolved his Thought Scour.
We go back to Arya Roohi. Sacred Foundry. So I'm interested to see whether or not Roohi's can force through this Swiftspear, or whether it's just into everything's burn now.
It depends how good his hand is at going upstairs. It's really hard to beat Tasigur on the table. You don't want to point 2 burn spells at it. That's just like a use of a lot of your spells.
Roohi will Lava Spike upstairs and swing the Swiftspear. Now this is surprising. Rudy's actually going to go ahead and take the attack from Swiftspear.
He deems Tasigur as 2 value. I'm a bit surprised by the no blocks there as well. Trading with the Swiftspear and another burn spell seems like a win to me. Perhaps concerned about mutagenic growth. That would be a blowout.
Yeah, no copies of mutagenic growth in Arya's deck, but certainly would be good. For turn 3, Briksza going to play Kolaghan's Command, killing Swiftspear and forcing Roohi to discard. And it looks like what Briksza wants to do is he wants to race back, actually swings with Tasigur, putting Roohi down to 14.
Maybe he has a Lightning Bolt, a Snapcaster Mage, and a red source in his hand. That can certainly swing a race.
Well, it does make sense. I mean, looking at life totals, 13 to 14, Rudy's not actually behind. But Arya's hand, a lot of burn here. Looks like he has Skullcrack and Lightning Bolt, both available.
And there's no main deck copies of Collective Brutality in Rudy's deck. He does have 2 on the sideboard. That's going to be his most effective card in this matchup.
So last turn when Arya attacked, it looks like the plan was to have Rudy block and then Lightning Bolt to finish off Tasigur.
Yep.
But now he has the freedom to throw Lightning Bolt upstairs. He will still convert, though, and now it looks like he gets a much cleaner answer to the Tasigur. He takes the turn, he bolts Tasigur, and uses Grim Lavamancer to finish it. No 3rd land. Rudy will spend Ancestral Visions on 4. I would be surprised if that one ever happens before this game's over.
Very well might. If Rudy's winning this game, it's not going to be quickly.
And Rudy's hand both Mana Leak and Cryptic Command in it. He's going to try to hide behind those as this Ancestral Visions ticks away. Eidolon of the Great Revel from Arya quickly gets Mana Leaked.
Can't let that one resolve.
Rudy fetches on end step down to 12.
Getting the Steam Vents, that'll be his 2nd red source and also his 3rd blue source. So Cryptic Command and casting 2 Lightning Bolts on the same turn, both online now.
A hand looks to be a Snapcaster, a Cryptic Command, plays a 5th land and says go. Now, there's some temptation here. If he's not forced to use the Cryptic, and I think this is what we're going to see Arya on end step, goes to shoot Rudy with the Lavamancer. Rudy will immediately Snapcast, flashing back Kolaghan's Command, killing Grim Lavamancer and forcing Arya to discard another card. And it's going to be Skullcrack, so a good exchange there for Briksza.
Yep, the Roohi at 10, Roohi just drawing to a second card in hand.
But the card may have been a good one. I believe it's an Eidolon. So he'll Lava Spike Roohi to 7. Then cast or actually suspend Rift Bolt. So he's just going for burn.
Yep. And now Roohi is untapping with Cryptic Command mana.
Rift Bolt upstairs. Does Roohi counter? Yes, he does. Cryptic counter and bounce Snapcaster Mage.
That's good value.
It looks like he's gotten through the worst of this. Arya's draw for the turn of fetch land. Vision's down to 1. Briksza passes now with Snapcaster Cryptic up. Looks like he should have this under control for the Ancestral Visions to come into play.
Yep.
So here comes the 3 cards for Roohi. Those 3 and the card for turn brings him up to 6 total in hand. Fatal Push now assembled. Tasigur.
And now Roohi should be able to win this game in a couple short turns. Does need to be a little bit careful. You know, Arya's hanging out with a couple cards in hand. You don't want to tap low. The Tasigur only costs 1 mana. He'll be able to cast that, leaving Cryptic Command in his graveyard, and have enough mana to Snapcaster Mage Cryptic Command. If what Arya casts is just a creature spell, that's great. He'll have that covered with Fatal Push, much more efficient use of his mana.
So Tasigur delves everything but Cryptic Command, leaving up Snapcaster Cryptic. It's pretty good right here.
Yes.
There's the threat, and he still has a hard counter to protect himself. At 6, so 2 burn spells will do it. Looks like Roohi picked up 1 of those burn spells, but he drops down to 8. He does not have too much time. Now you mentioned the plan here from Roohi is to try to dump all this burn in 1 turn.
Problem is, it looks like Arya's drawing a lot of lands. So you can't cast multiple spells if you don't have them in your hand.
Yeah, right now you need 3 lightning bolts or lightning bolt equivalents to win.
Yep.
Over in the legacy match, Aaron Kasprzak helping his teammate Briksza out. Miracles takes the first game.
It's always amusing to me when the Miracles match is the one that's finished the first game first.
Down to 4 goes Arya. It's gonna if he's gonna make a last attempt at lethal, it's gonna have to start now. End step, he'll lightning bolt at Briksza. Briksza goes to 3. He's not gonna fight over anything except for the lethal burn spell. Another draw from Roohi. I think you are right. It's 2 lands and a spell. He knows about the Snapcaster Cryptic. Goblin Guide. Sure, Roohi's got plenty of removal. Fatal Push.
Didn't even get that Goblin Guide trigger.
I didn't even try to get the free land. Game 1 goes to Roohi Briksza with Grixis control.
No concern about Exquisite Firecraft there.
No, so looking over the sideboards, we'll start with Arya, Roohi's deck. We have to try to fight his way through some amount of counter spells. He's got Destructive Revelry, Ensnaring Bridge, Path to Exile, Flames of the Bloodhand, Grafdigger's Cage, and Lightning Helix. It doesn't seem like there's too much actually for this matchup in his sideboard.
I think that the biggest danger that the burn deck has with its sideboard is trying to sideboard too much. This is a matchup where there's a lot of pressure on Briksza to draw the right cards in the first place. Bringing in too many Path to Exiles is kind of a recipe to lose the game, especially when you need to top deck a burn spell to effectively win. I could see Flames of the Bloodhand coming in here just because it does more damage than other cards in the deck. That one makes sense. Grafdigger's Cage is fine, but just turning off Snapcaster Mage is just so narrow. It's just not very effective.
On Roohi Briksza's side, though, he does have some counter spells of his own. We see cards like Collective Brutality as a pretty reasonable spell in this matchup, and then counter spells, cards like Dispel, Negate. A lot of good options for him, actually.
The Collective Brutality is the best card in his 75 in this matchup. That one's excellent. There's a danger with drawing too many Dispels in his gates, but his numbers are pretty low, so he should be able to get a good mix of counter spells and removal spells. And the Kalitas Trader of Get, that one's pretty excellent if you can get to 4 mana or 5-6 mana and cast in a removal spell.
All right, for Roohi Briksza, mentioned he was the 2015 competitor in the Players' Championship. Had it quiet last year as they took a break from Magic, but now returning to the SCG Tour from this area, Baltimore, Maryland. He's got a full 8 open top 8s, including 2 wins. Very well known originally for playing Esper Deathblade in Legacy, and a lot of times I think what we see with Roohi is these 3-color, 4-color good stuff control decks, and he also has a very fast pace of play to go with them.
Can't argue that point. Was moving very quickly in game 1 here.
No, and that's what you're going to see when you watch any of Roohi's rounds. He's not the kind of person to pick up a draw.
No, certainly not.
Yeah, I mentioned his team has 1 draw. I will bet you it is not the middle match that caused it to happen.
No. Especially with Miracles being in the mix, it's pretty easy to lay the blame there.
Wonder which one it might have been. All right, they're going to get ready for game number 2. Now, over at StarCityGames.com, we have come up on the horizon the Amonkhet pre-release, which means we have the Kitty playmat, which is going to be, this is the pre-release exclusive we can now announce this weekend from our creature collection. Now, this is actually given away at not just at the SCG Game Center in Roanoke, Virginia, but it's given away at stores all around the country. The pre-release is coming up in 2 months. It's April 22nd and 23rd. And right now, if you want to get your hands on this and aren't in the Roanoke area, you can contact your local game store and get them to sign up today. This is StarCityGames.com/pre-release.
It's probably a rough lot to be a dog living in a society that worships cats.
Well, yeah, they have to, yeah. That one looks like he's kind of just more like a civilian, a peon, sort of, a laborer at the temple of the cat.
It's kind of like a scene of Planet of the Apes, except humans are dogs and apes are cats.
So second game, Roohi will be on the play. A lot of that discard really seemed to serve Roohi Briksza well in the game. Kolaghan's command and snapping it back got him a lot of value.
2-for-1s are very good. You know, the burn deck is just trying to assemble a combination of cards that will deal lethal damage to the opponent. Any extra card that you can get off of them, that's just going to make it that much harder for them to win the game.
Cards like Collective Brutality playing into that as well. It's not technically a 2-for-1 as Roohi has to discard a card to escalate it, but still seems to be really good in the matchup.
Yeah, that card is still brutal.
All 3 modes live in the matchup. Can help facilitate something like an early Tasigur, which as a 3 of is Roohi's win condition.
Yes. Tasigur, Snapcaster Mage. He has a couple creeping tar pits. It's a bit mana inefficient for this matchup. Yeah, I'm sure it happens in some number of the games.
It doesn't seem like he's going to win with Tar Pit nearly as much as what we saw last game, where it's just, you know, a set of Cryptic Commands and a set of Snapcaster Mages is all the late game he really needs.
Yep.
So up a game in Modern and Legacy for the team of Negri, Briksza, and Kasprzak. I mentioned they're at 2-0-1, currently sitting in 6th place. They're looking for at least 2 wins in these last 3 rounds. But so far, it looks like they're on their way for the first one. Judge call sorted out here, but we are underway for game 2, looks like. And Dylan Donegan, our most recent Open champion. So just 3 weeks ago.
Really impressive performance in that tournament. An invitational champion as well.
I suppose if the year starts off with back-to-backs from Brennan DeCandio, no reason why Dylan Donegan can't try to match that.
Yeah, it's his turn. Strong team here as well. Ario Roohi, strong player in his own right. Corey McDuffie, another Open champion.
I see that one still tie with Miracles, but Dylan Donegan right now down a game. Looks like Arya's going down to 6 cards. Now, over on Star City Games, you've seen our Versus videos. We have the Versus Series 2-player playmat, the one you see on the videos. That whole collection now available for order today. It's over at StarCityGames.com on the website, StarCityGames.com/VS playmats. versus series. The series videos getting some of the pros from Roanoke playing different matchups of the format, a lot of times debuting the new deck. I know we saw a lot in the last couple weeks of the Pure Steel Paladin deck in Modern, one of the newer comers.
Yeah, a lot of great video content produced in that versus series. They try to find sweet decks. Do a very good job of it.
I can't. After this weekend, I have to imagine we're going to be seeing some versus content of the Michael Majors Brain in a Jar deck in Modern. Maybe missed that one yesterday. Their team went 6-3, missed the cut for day 2, but the deck looked pretty sweet and maybe even good at the same time.
It's doing some very powerful things.
Roohi debating his 6.
This is not a deck that generally mulligans particularly well. Again,
No.
it's trying to assemble a critical mass of individual pieces.
Yeah, for Roohi, that can be tough, especially against an opponent who's doing an attrition discard game plan against you.
Right.
And his 6 won't do. Roohi's going to go down to 5. And that's going to put some pressure on players like Dylan Donegan right now down a game in Legacy. If you can't pull out the second one, you know, you have to think that game matters more now.
Yes. Still no conclusion for any games in the standard match. We'll see where that one swings.
Now the match between Negri and McDuffie. But we're getting ready for the game. Briksza has kept on 7.
And on 5 cards, it's going to be more important for Roohi to produce his creatures and consistent damage sources. Something like turn 1 Goblin Guide, turn 2 Eidolon of the Great Revel. That's really the hand that he needs here. But
well, so something like Eidolon of the Great Revel, which is not just an efficiency burn spell. You know, it's not a lava spike. Instead, it's if uncontested, it could do 6-8 damage, something like that.
Yeah. You just need your cards to do more when you have fewer of them.
Especially when it'll be +3 cards. Rudy's plan then would be to convert resources. Anytime Arya plays a burn spell, I guess he can take a couple of the pure burn spells you can't really trade with, but you know, Arya plays a creature, Rudy kills it.
In the matchup in general, Rudy's going to snap off a lot of 1-for-1 trades, and that's just going to be compounded when we see the double mulligan on Arya's side. Arya not thrilled about his 5-card hand either.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain point, especially with Burn, where most 5s are keeps. You see he'll keep it, but we'll see if he gets a game off it. Underway, though. He's going to start out for game number 2 here against Rudy Briksza. So Roohi starts. Arid Mesa, the play. Looking for maybe something like a Goblin Guide. If he can convert that into a lot of damage, that could very much help.
Yeah, Goblin Guide will be nice. Monastery Swift Spear would be acceptable as well.
Now granted, there's plenty of Fatal Push and Lightning Bolt in the deck, but it is Goblin Guide on the play for Roohi. We'll draw Rudy an island. This is what he would want on a 5-card hand, though.
Yes. We'll find out if Rudy's able to deal with that on turn 1. It looks like he has Fatal Push and Lightning Bolt in his hand.
Yeah, the addition of Fatal Push really does help the deck. Without that, he would have had to discard here as well. So pretty nice that he gets to convert that free card.
So scratch that, just the push. No Lightning Bolt for Rudy.
But the push should be enough. He goes ahead and gets... He does give some extra damage. He gets a dual land, a Watery Grave off it.
Yeah, a lot of players will aggressively find basics in this matchup, conserve their life total. Having your colors online matters a lot for these 3-color decks.
Lava Spike puts Briksza down to 12. No second land for Roohi. See why he wasn't thrilled about the keep. Rudy plays a land and passes, but now sitting behind Negate Double Cryptic Command. It might be hard for Arya to convert more burn.
Yeah, this should mean that he's at least flush with spells. If he's able to cast multiples on the same turn, he should be able to sneak them under counter spells anyway.
Well, suspending Rift Bolt could help here.
Yeah.
2 spells on 1 turn. You see for Roohi. Cast Serum Visions, now up to 3 Cryptic Commands. If he can make land drops 3 and 4, he should be pretty good now.
And I believe a Collective Brutality Scryed in one of those top 2 cards. Possibly land into Brutality.
Yeah, no 4th land in Roohi's hand just yet, though. So upkeep, Arya will go for Rift Bolt. And if Roohi's not countering, it's only because he has so much strength. And that's exactly what happens. He goes to 9. And some bad news here for the team of McDuffie, Roohi, and Donegan. The legacy match between Aaron Kasprzak and Dylan Donegan has completed, meaning Arya needs to win this game now.
Yep.
And Lightning Helix getting mana leaked is not going to help the matter any.
I look curious. Okay, so that must have been during Briksza's upkeep that was cast.
Yep. Arya goes for Eidolon, that's mana leaked as well, and now Roohi has reached, well, he's reached 4 mana, but it's not done yet because of the basic Swamp and basic Mountain.
Can't cast Cryptic Command off of those ones.
Yeah, he'll escalate a Collective Brutality, pitching one of his 3 Cryptic Commands. Gain 2 and discard were the modes. But Roohi's at a safe 11. He still has negate double Cryptic to accompany his Kolaghan's Command. So he's in a great spot here.
Yep. The Kolaghan's Command will be able to deal with at least one of the cards out of Roohi's hand. No real value on the second mode as of yet.
See another play by Arya. Gets hit by a counter spell from Roohi. He's staying at a very stable 10 life. And now has found the 3rd blue source. So the rest of his hand online. End step, he's going to deal 2 and have Arya discard his final card. So the problem is now, where Arya's playing off, both players are playing off the top of the deck. Arya has no cards, and Roohi has double Cryptic Command.
Small misstep you'll see from Roohi there. He tapped his basic Mountain to cast his counterspell, so he had to fetch an untapped duel and take some damage to cast the Kolaghan's Command.
Yeah, and that actually was an opportunity for Eidolon of the Great Revel. So Arya sticks the 2-drop here. He's going to take advantage of that whole sequence, and now swings, and he's got Roohi down to 6. There's... Yeah, and it looks like on end step, Roohi may have to bounce draw.
At least casting Cryptic Command does not lose life, but Roohi's in a much worse spot now.
I mean, now cards like Exquisite Firecraft have to be on his radar. I don't... Doesn't look like actually Arya has them this weekend. But Roohi's down to 5, especially with this end step bounce draw from Cryptic Command.
Yeah, and he drew a land off the Cryptic Command and a land for his draw step.
No creeping Tar Pit. Yeah, Roohi just passes. You see he's holding on to extra fetch lands here. And I do actually like that play.
Yeah, you can discard those ones to Collective Brutality. Also, you disguise the strength of your hand.
Yeah, you can discard them. I don't think he wants to crack another fetch land to go to 4 at any point in this game.
Not really about that. Don't want to be dead to Boros Charm.
And Roohi waiting to draw a threat here. Players passing the turn back. Spell Snare, the pickup for Briksza. That one can be pretty good.
Yeah, that's a strong draw.
Another pass from Roohi. He's got Roohi goes to 4. Now we're in a very interesting situation. 1 burn spell could be lethal.
He seems to be confident going down to 4, given that he has Spell Snare and Cryptic Command, though I think he might be a little overconfident here. We'll see if it comes back to bite him.
Well, the only 4 damage burn spell in Arya's deck is Boros Charm, which is now covered by 2 cards.
Right.
I do see your point, though. It's still, you know, how badly do you need that land sort of thing. Kolaghan's Command, the pickup for Briksza. No Snapcasters, no Tassigers in his graveyard, so it's fine but not great.
3 mana Funeral Charm.
Yeah.
Plus Shock.
And you have to wonder at this point whether or not Arya is keeping an extra land in his hand as shield against Kolaghan's Command.
It certainly wouldn't do him any good on the battlefield. It would make sense.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing, you want the 4th land to play double 2-mana spell, but you don't have to put it into play until you're ready to do that.
Right. If you draw enough lands where you can start paying for mana leak on all your spells, then sure, commit them.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it just has not been an issue as of yet.
Well, if Arya can pull this out, he's got some good news. Corey McDuffie does win game 1 in that Marathon Standard match over Kazu Negri. But as you can see, especially with where Dylan Donegan is, that is not their team's concern. Right now they're trying to figure out if there's any way Arya Roohi can deal these last 4 points.
Yep. Every turn, Briksza's hand gets a little bit better at stopping that from happening.
Yeah, you see him pick up a Thought Scour there. So the plan here, Ryan, I think is what you overload Rudy's mana. You try to just launch all your burn spells in one go.
Plan actually seems to be to pay respect to Mana Leak, except that Rudy can counter any other spells with his counter spell, with his hard counters, and try to beat him if he's drawn soft counters.
Well, Rudy Thought Scoured himself, and he was hoping to put either a creature in the graveyard or draw a threat, but none of those happened. He milled over some spells and drew a fetch land. It was probably the worst Thought Scour that could have happened.
Yeah.
You know, even if he'd milled into a Snapcaster, he's got a Kolagons in hand, he could have, it would have been the finisher he was looking for.
Right, and fetching to 4, it was arguably ambitious. You will not see Briksza fetch down to 3.
No, I mean, fetching to 4 turns on Boros Charm. Fetching to 3 turns on the rest of the cards in Arya's deck.
Yep.
And there's the finisher Rudy was looking for. He's finally picked up a creature. It's a copy of Tasigur. Taps 1 swamp, delves 5.
And now getting into a spot where Arya really should start casting some spells.
Yeah, so Arya was waiting until Rudy presented a threat, it looks like, to try, and you see the moment Tasigur happens, Arya is starting to cast burn spells. First it will be Skullcrack. Skullcrack gets spell snared. Next they're going to go for Lightning Helix, it looks like. They're definitely overloading his mana. He can Rudy can Cryptic Command it, but then his Kolagons command is off the table.
Yep. Yeah, 3 lands currently in Briksza's hand. He's got lands full of commands.
Oh, I like that. Lightning Helix, the next try. That's going to go, I imagine, at Briksza, and that will get his Cryptic Command.
And Rudy would love to draw Dispel or Spell Snare. Thought Scour off the top, that one's not going to do anything, and we'll find out what Arya has left over.
Well, he drew Lava Spike. And so now the question is, does he have another burn spell?
I think he has Rift Bolt.
Eidolon of the Great Revel. Thought Scour. And now they have it. Yes, it is Flames of the Blood Hand. That was the 4 damage burn spell Arya Roohi wanted. He was trying to draw out the last mana from Briksza, and Roohi, the mull to 5 on the play, he gets the win off Briksza's control. He keeps the team alive.
And a lot of that came down to the way that Rudy managed his lands.
He took extra damage off the Steam Vents, absolutely.
Yep. Cracked a fetch land that maybe he didn't need to as well.
And you have to wonder, so I get it, Briksza ended the game with a Kolagons command in his hand too. Now, he was holding on to it because I believe if he was to Thought Scour into a Snapcaster, he wanted it there. At some point, though, do you wonder, like, was he supposed to Funeral Charm with it?
If you're just drawing blanks off the top, eventually you got to get something going. You would have only hit a land from Roohi, I believe, for a good window there. Hard to say how much the command mattered, but really the story was the mismanagement of the lands.
Yeah, that he took some extra damage there, and he ended up dying at exactly 0. So those 2 points do come back to him. And now there's still hope here for McDuffie, Roohi, and Donegan. At X and 2, they are still alive.
Yeah, and on the standard match, we still have McDuffie up a game.
Wow.
And we'll see if Roohi can have more than 5 cards in the 3rd game as well. Yeah, and so likely not very much changing in sideboarding here. Roohi does seem to be looking over his deck. Probably some question of how many, if any, Path Exiles he wants, something like that.
So the players are going to regroup for a 3rd final game here in Modern. Now, not only is that one in Modern, next week, Star City Games goes over into the middle of the country. We're going to be in Indianapolis for a Modern Open. So that's the Indianapolis Open next week, the first Open of Season 1.
There's a small chance that I will be battling Indianapolis.
Ryan Overturf will be making an appearance.
It is just possible. In theory, I have a car. In theory, I have a deck.
See, when you live in the middle part of the country, you start selling yourself. Indianapolis is only a nice 10.5 hours away. I mean, yeah, we can drive that.
It's not that bad of a drive, really, if you don't value your time or physical comfort.
It's only one time zone change.
I always forget about that. That's a real bummer when it comes to...
The drive there is really, it's mean. The drive home's nice.
Yeah, the drive home is great.
You're not really worried about getting snowed in, not with the way this year's shaped up.
It's been pretty wild. I ate outside last night.
That's ridiculous.
It's absurd.
Of course, we're here in Baltimore this weekend. But winter happens here, you know, especially in February.
I haven't seen it.
So they say.
They claim that winter happens.
7-card keep from Roohi. Roohi has started his games on 6 and 5. This is his first game on a full 7, and we start with our decider. And you see right now it is Dylan Donegan and Roohi both playing on this one. Donegan going to be a good pickup for this deck. Not a burn player, but certainly a blue-red tempo player.
Yes.
He'll add to this team.
And a lot of the elements about the gameplay is obviously you're trading different kinds of spells, but it feels very much like a tempo mirror.
So Goblin Guy turn 1 for Arya. Roohi does not get a free card this time. He gets to see that there's about to be a Tasigur. And what Roohi will do then is he's going to upkeep Thought Scour away the Tasigur with his Creeping Tar Pit.
And even on, so Roohi is on the play this game. He has left an Ancestral Vision. It certainly makes more sense on the play, though. We'll find out if he's able to actually cash this one in.
Well, here's the plan. Turn 2 suspends it. We did see game 1. Roohi more or less won when he drew his extra cards, but Arya's start is much better this game.
Yes.
And by tapping on the second turn, Roohi has opened the window to a lot of extra damage. I'm kind of interested, Ryan. He chose to Thought Scour the Tasigur and suspend the visions. He does have Fatal Push in his hand. Takes extra damage off Goblin Guide, and Eidolon of the Great Revel joins in. We'll see Fatal Push on the Eidolon. Roohi goes to 13.
That's still a fine exchange for Roohi.
He's got Lightning Bolt in hand, but he has to shock himself to cast it, down to 11.
Another fine exchange for Roohi.
Yeah, it's like, so Goblin Guy got in 2 hits and made you shock, so for 1 red it dealt 6.
This time it looks like Roohi's holding off to get that Goblin Guide trigger. Love it.
Good restraint.
And Roohi did pick up a Path to Exile, so some number of those in the deck to deal with a potential Tasigur, though as you saw, that's not what Roohi's trying to set up right now.
Yeah, I mean, there was a turn 2 Tasigur, which kind of won the game for Roohi. So Arya's respecting that on the draw. I'm not surprised, wouldn't be surprised if this was a play-draw decision.
Sure. You have an extra card to kind of mess around with on the draw.
And you see, it looks like Donegan's suggesting some burn spells to be cast pre-combat. If Roohi's going to counter them, it means he's not going to kill Goblin Guide. So, Lava Spike upstairs, Briksza down to 8. Let's do more, says Dylan.
There's a lot of spells left over in that hand. That's a problem for Roohi.
Lava Spike to 5. Roohi needs like Spell Snare, Lightning Bolt here, but Arya, and what I like is that by going Lava Spike, suspend Rift Bolt or something like that, you're just not letting Roohi double spell here.
Right. None of that spell snareable. You'd have to tap the red mana, Lightning Bolt, the Goblin Guide.
Right. You know, the idea that Roohi could play 2 pieces of interaction is what needs to be avoided.
They're all sorceries as well, so you can't dispel any of them.
Yeah, if one of them got hit by a mana leak, that's okay because then he's shocked for the steam vents and he'd take damage off the guide. It's not really a win.
Yep.
And suspend Rift Bolt. And this is just taunting that open mana. You know, there was nothing here that Roohi could do.
Right.
Mana leak was always a bad play because it let Goblin Guide in, and you can't mana leak a suspend. So you see Roohi end step just Thought Scours and then bolts away the guide. 4th land and pass for Briksza. He leaves up his Cryptic Command mana. It's going to be Rift Bolt. You see Briksza on Lightning Bolt, Cryptic Command, Dispel. It's going to counter it out with Cryptic, but now shields are down. Can Arya Roohi kill him?
Picked up a Lava Spike, but that Path to Exile not going to do anything here.
It's close. It's Shard Volley, 3 damage, and this is actually a great win for Arya. Remember that Rudy's counterspell in hand is Dispel.
Yes, and Rudy had to tap low for that Cryptic command.
Envision's down to 1, Rudy down to 2. Can he survive one more turn?
Look like a red card.
If it's an instant, Rudy can counter. If it's a sorcery, he can't. Path to Exile and 1 red card in Roohi's hand. You know, and you certainly don't want to let him. The problem is if he doesn't go for it right now, Rudy draws 4.
Yes.
I don't know if I like my odds any. After this, I don't. You know.
And Roohi also looking at the graveyard. Briksza has 5 lands in play. A 6 means Snapcaster Cryptic Command is online.
Briksza goes down to 1 on the fetch land. It looks like they've decided to not try for it. Or maybe do it during upkeep, I guess. If it's an instant, they're going to go for it then. Here's Ancestral Visions. Does Arya make that play? Upkeep tries to Skullcrack for the win. Rudy dispels.
And let's find out how good these 4 cards are. Fetch land's not going to do anything. Kolaghan's command is fine.
Snapcaster Mage in hand, but because he had to dispel an upkeep, he cannot snap that Cryptic command just yet. Roohi drew Eidolon of the Great Revel, and this one's pretty good because Briksza's at 1.
Briksza has Spell Snare in his graveyard, I believe. I thought maybe that was.
No,
maybe
that's
I'm
Thought
incorrect.
Scour. Yeah,
he has to Thought Scour and try to hit Spell Snare either into his graveyard or draw that one.
If he can't counter this, this is really a disaster, right? His whole hand becomes unplayable.
Mana Leak would also play.
And look at this, he's going to go ahead, Bolt. This is his only play. Bolt Roohi in response, snap Bolt, let it resolve. Arya's at 11, but Rudy can no longer cast any spells.
He's going to try to get in there with a Tar Pit or peel some Cryptic commands.
Yeah. Ugh. This is a huge draw for Arya, and it might be the game. So what do we have left? What can Rudy do? He can activate Tar Pits, he can cast Cryptics. Tasigur.
Sure.
I don't like this one bit.
1 Tasigur already in the graveyard.
But nothing else is castable.
That is correct.
Okay.
If you brought in Kalitas, I think that's already in his graveyard, actually. I think when he Thought Scoured on turn 1, it was Tasigur, Kalitas.
Okay, so that's out.
Spell Snare off the top. If he Thought Scoured, he had that one.
Tar Pit swings for 3. End step, Path to Exile. Arya's going to go for the win, removing the blocker. There's only 2 lands up. Rudy's going to Thought Scour himself, and Arya says, no, you take 2. That is game and match, and the comeback, Arya Roohi defeating Rudy Briksza. The Burn player wins in Modern, and now he gets to throw it to Standard for the deciding game.
Very well navigated by Roohi and Donegan there. Now it's up to McDuffie.
What a comeback here. You saw Arya on a mulligan to 5, keeping a 1-lander. When Donegan lost the Legacy match, you kind of assumed this one was over.
Yes, when Roohi on 5, it looked really bad.
But he manages to pull out that Modern match. So, 1 match left to decide the round. It's going to be Kazu Negri versus Corey McDuffie. Green-black aggro versus 4-color Saheeli. We're going to possibly bring over to that match, and it's looking good for the team of McDuffie, Roohi, and Donegan.
It's a lot of permanence on McDuffie's side of the table.
And those are the life totals. It is Kazu Negri at 1. It was not just Rudy Briksza who was at 1. But he is somewhat stabilized, or has he? There's a Saheeli Rai in play. And yeah, the Saheeli Rai is going to plus. And every time we see Corey McDuffie winning the Standard match, so that comeback from Roohi was not just a comeback for his match, it was a comeback for the whole team. Roohi, McDuffie, and Donegan win the round.
Yeah, Donegan lost the Legacy match early, but yeah, Roohi takes the Modern game there.
Okay, we actually have to have a correction here. There's a possibility that this match score is not as presented. So I'm going to pause you back for a second. Yes, Corey won that game. There may be a correction that game 1 had gone to Kazu Negri.
That would
so
change
they had
things.
that wrong. Okay. So they may have to complete that a second time. Yeah, okay, we're actually confirming here from the table judge that game 1 was actually won by Kazu Negri. So
right.
no, we're not done. The comeback is not complete.
So we got a rubber match.
So it's going to be Negri versus McDuffie. Which, okay, so going back, that actually means that at one point the score was 4-0. Right? 2-0 in Legacy, 1-0 in Modern, 1-0 in Standard. And then it's like, all right, guys, win any of the next 4. Well, we're down to the 4th of those games.
Yes.
Arya Polt did it. So now Corey McDuffie's going to try for the same. So they're going to shuffle up for a game 3, and it's going to have to be a quick one. Just 9 minutes remaining here in the round. So they get ready for the game. We're talking about over at StarCityGames.com. We have the Star City newsletter. This is every week your source of Magic news and strategy. We have highlights from our articles for the week. We have the upcoming SCG Tour, news of when you can come to our events. We have the matches of the week and reports of the tournaments, as well as finding game nights near you. It's free to sign up for over at StarCityGames.com/newsletter.
There's really no reason not to get the newsletter. A lot of great information in that one. Cost you nothing. And McDuffie pile shuffling. He doesn't care about the clock. To his credit, he did that pretty quick. That was an above average rate for a pile shuffle.
Let's make sure he has all the cards. Yeah, 9 minutes is what they're going to start the game on. So 4-color Saheeli versus green-black aggro is going to be the matchup. And we are in post-burn. We saw McDuffie getting that one with a plus on Saheeli Rai to sneak the last point. He looks like he had lost control of the board as well. But we saw this matchup earlier today between Ben Stark and Ted Felicetti. It was the Saheeli player won, Ted won off a quick draw of a quick planeswalker, but then the last 2 sideboard games both went the way of green-black.
As one would suspect, McDuffie's list is a little unusual. We have some Elder Deep Fiends hanging out in the deck, 2 Aetherworks Marvel as well.
This is a much bigger version of the deck.
Yeah, he actually has an energy payoff, which you don't always see in these 4-color Saheeli decks.
Yeah, the neat part here, Ryan, is 3 Saheeli Rise, 1 Chandra, no copies of Nahiri. It's much lighter on the Planeswalkers.
Yeah.
No more in the sideboard either.
Yeah, the only go big spell on the sideboard is going to be Tireless Tracker.
That said, how do you feel about Elder Deep Fiend in this kind of matchup?
It is larger than the base rate of creatures out of green-black aggro. When they're actually executing their synergies, casting Verdurous Gearhulk, that kind of changes. This seems to be a lot better in any kind of combo mirror against any control decks.
Both players on 6 cards here. The Kazu Negri build of black-green. This is the heavy on creatures, a full 25, including a set of 3 Catacomb Sifters and 3 Trackers in the main. His only spells are 4 Oaths, 4 Pushes, and 3 Grasps. The rest is all creatures.
As long as they have 4 Walking Ballista and 4 Winding Constrictor, that's basically the 2 boxes you check on this deck. I suppose 4 Fatal Push now that Mardu Vehicles is being heavily played. That one you need as well.
Both players on 5. It's going to make for quite the interesting matchup. I kind of like both these decks on 5 in different ways. Green-black has such a low curve that they can function on 2 lands, whereas for 4-color Saheeli, they have so much card draw and value that they can get out of the 5-card hand quicker.
Also the ability to just win the game with a 2-card combo.
Yeah, that's always pretty good. So, see both players going very fast here. For Kazu, had a tap land, turn 1, turn 2, Oath of Nissa, finding Winding Constrictor, but missed the land drop. And that's going to be a big opportunity for Corey. He makes Servant of the Conduit to bump him up to 3 mana, says go. Kazu still searching for that land. It's another Oath of Nissa. Now it finds a land, another Hissing Quagmire. Play it and say go. A very slow start, but it looks like he's managed the worst of it.
Now McDuffie looks like he has at least his 3rd land drop. We'll find out what he has for spells, though.
Right. You see like Negri's hand. He's got Winding Constrictor, Rishkar, Fatal Push. So especially if he draws this 3rd land, he's got a lot of good things going on.
Yes.
But you're right. If Corey McDuffie can get far enough ahead with this tempo advantage, then this doesn't matter. 3rd color of mana. Corey going to accelerate out of 4-drop. It's Felidar Guardian up to 5 energy, says go. Threatening Saheeli Rai combo right away.
Yep, then Kazu has to respect that one.
He's right at his entering spot where he wants to, he has to respect it, but he might not be able to do anything about it. I guess he will respect. He'll cast his Transgress.
Swing and a miss.
Harness Lightning, Dispel, Game Trail. Absolutely. And by playing out Guardian, Corey got a big win. He got Kazu to spend another turn not playing to the board.
And still no third land for Kazu.
Well, the good news for Negri is that he's not taking much damage. Just one off Felidar Guardian is the play.
The bad news is Harness Lightning covers Walking Ballista, and Dispel covers a removal spell should McDuffie produce the combo.
When McDuffie finds Saheeli Rai, this game's over. But McDuffie actually has a different plan. Upkeep, he's going to go ahead and just emerge Elder Deep Fiend.
Yeah, forget that. We're the beatdown deck now. Here's my 5/6.
Taps Kazu out, and again cannot play anything to the board. Here come the swings. 5 knocks Negri down to 14.
Kazu did find the third land. That's something. It's going to be difficult to get this 5/6 off the table, though.
Great draw, though, from Corey. Rogue Refiner will keep him going, drawing a card and getting up to 2 more energy. Now, finally, with 3 lands in play, Negri can start to empty his hand, but he's in a big hole. There's 5/6 Elder Deep Fiend and a 3/2 Rogue Refiner, both in play for McDuffie.
That's a 2-turn clock.
He's already spent his Fatal Push. You see here, Winding Constrictor, Rishkar, Verdurous Gearhulk. Those are all in his hand, but he's still kind of stuck in 1 spell per turn, so it'll just be a 3/3 Rishkar, says go. Now Corey has picked up Saheeli Rai. And you can see Corey is the player who can turn up the speed when he needs to. Attune with Ether brings him up to 8 energy, finds him his last color. He now has all the basics he needs. He has Harnessed Lightning for the blocker. Both players knew about this one. Rishkar is down. A swing is for 8. Negri is down to 6.
McDuffie still with Dispel in hand.
This looks pretty good. You're going to need a Dispel-proof answer to this board. I'm not sure it's there. Too many misses on these land drops for Negri early on. And that's kind of how 5-card hands can go. He will make Walking Ballista and Winding Constrictor. It's 2 blockers. But he's in chump block mode pretty quick here. Because that Saheeli Rai in hand, the Elder Deep Fiend is lethal. 5 from the Deep Fiend, 1 from the Planeswalker.
Yep. Given the presence of the Walking Ballista, you wouldn't want to use Saheeli to -2 on, say, the Rogue Refiner, though it is tempting.
Yeah, I mean, if Corey swings, right, the block is likely going to be Ballista in front of Deep Fiend before damage kill Refiner.
Right.
Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Negri trying to stabilize. Here's a swing with both creatures, and that's the exact play. A block and a shoot, no damage. Kazu stays at 6. Hissing Quagmire's in play for Negri. He's got a Gearhulk in his hand, so in theory could make a blocker big enough to tangle with the Elder Deep Fiend.
Yeah.
So there was also an interesting line here. Corey could have, I guess, he wants to get the Walking Ballista off the board because now he has the option of Saheeli Rai copy Deep Fiend shove, which is getting to be a lot of damage. Rishkar from Kazu Negri. And that will work with Winding Constrictor. 2 counters on both.
But McDuffie can eat this entire board with Saheeli copy Deep Fiend.
He's going to cast Oath of Nissa first. Maybe he can find something better. Whirler Virtuoso, Aetherworks Marvel, Aetherworks Marvel. He'll take the Virtuoso. Some flyer sounds great. Look at that stockpile of energy he has.
Something nice that the Oath does, it lets him cast Saheeli off of, I suppose he has 2 blue sources now, so he could already leave up Dispel. That was an issue previously.
Yeah, this Virtuoso is just terrifying right now. At 6 points of life.
Yeah, 8 energy hanging out, going up to 11 and making 3 Thopters.
Sounds like a 2-turn clock.
Yeah.
So now team debates, do they want to make the Saheeli copy play to chump away the board, or do they want to get that Virtuoso going? They cannot do both. But copying Deep Fiend seems pretty nice. I don't know, both seem pretty nice actually.
If only you got the trigger on enter the battlefield, obviously, then you just copy the Deep Fiend and tap the creatures down. That doesn't work.
A swing with Deep Fiend, a double block means Deep Fiend will trade with the Constrictor, and here is Whirler Virtuoso up to 11 energy and a go. Looks like they're going to try to finish off the game with some Thopters. Black card drawn by Negri, 2 cards in hand. Players almost reaching time here.
If you could produce a walking ballista, that would deal with Thopters.
Whirler Virtuoso on the end step. Looks to make 3 Thopters. Negri is at 6. That's going to be a 2-turn clock. He has 6 mana available if he wants to use Rishkar for mana. Looks like time is going to be, this is going to be turn 0 for Kazu, so Corey will have turns 1, 3, and 5. Negri will have turns 2 and 4. And he's going to try to play for the win. He'll start with an attack. Remember, the team of Negri, Briksza, and Kasprzak already has 1 draw, so they can't take another one here. They're going to swing with Rishkar and just play an 8/8 Gear Hulk, hoping to win the race.
Puts all the counters on the Gear Hulk because that one has trample and the Rishkar doesn't.
Yeah, this is the, if they need to play for the win and not for the draw, this is the best line to do that. 3 Thopters on the end step. We go to Corey's turn. It is turn 1. They're very close to something like Saheeli copying Whirler Virtuoso being lethal.
That would allow him to make an extra Thopter. And if he just wanted to attack with both Virtuosos, that would chip in for 2 additional damage as well.
Looks like that's going to be the play. Saheeli Rai. She'll copy Whirler Virtuoso. Make another Whirler Virtuoso then. 3 more energy. And they're going to play Harness Lightning to kill the Gear Hulk. Swing in for 7, no blockers, and all right, now we can say it for sure. Corey McDuffie, Arya Roohi, and Dylan Donegan lose the first 4 games, win the next 4 to take the matches in Standard and Modern and win the round.
Yeah, really impressive